So in this video, we are going to be going over the best cooking oils and the healthiest cooking oils, and we'll be making a tier list out of all of these cooking oils, and you'll be able to see what I see when it comes to the health of each of these. I am going to be specifically ranking them in terms of them being oxidized, basically when you're cooking with them. This won't be if they're not oxidized. Even if they're not oxidized, it's sort of the same result in most cases anyways. But anyways, let's get to it. So our first oil is going to be avocado oil. Now, avocado oil is either B or C. I'm probably going to put it in C though. And the reason is because one, this is polyunsaturated. Two, it's plant, and plant always has more polyunsaturated fat. Once again, and this in this case is very, very prone to being oxidized. Now, if you don't know why polyunsaturated fat being oxidized is very unhealthy for you to consume, then I go recommend you check out the video I made. I'm pretty sure it's called School Your Doctor in Nutrition Science, and it's found under the Real Nutrition Science playlist under my homepage. All of my homepage has all of my playlists, so if you're interested, go check that out. Yeah, this is like really bad to oxidize. There is way too many polyunsaturated fats here. You're going to create tons and tons of toxic off products that you don't want to be creating. Polyunsaturated fat, as a general rule, you don't want to be cooking with this ever. If it's higher in polyunsaturated fat, avoid cooking in it, like completely. So yeah, don't cook with this. Next we have Bison. I'm gonna probably put Bison in A or S tier. I think I'm gonna put it in S tier actually. Yeah, it's ruminant. Yeah, so we're gonna put Bison in S tier, and the reason is because this is there's very few oils that usually go into S tier. Or I guess in this case there's sort of few, but this one definitely goes into S tier, and the reason has to do with one, this is ruminant meat. Two, in terms of bison, so there are specific sorts of animals usually that are very, very healthy when it comes to basically them having low polyunsaturated fat content, unless it's salmon, because the polyunsaturated fat content that you're getting in comparison to the amount of mercury is very, very high. In my opinion, it's very, very worth it. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you do eat the salmon, you have to have it not cooked. I'm not going to explain that in this one. Yeah, so definitely this is going to go into S tier. This is ruminant. This is very, very high saturated fat content, very resistant to oxidation damage. So when you cook this meat, for instance, you're not that the saturated fat will not degrade. It's very, very difficult to get that saturated fat to oxidize. If you compare that to a polyunsaturated fat though, like the best example of this is just to show you, whenever you make a vegetable oil of any sort, it doesn't matter what it is. If you make a vegetable oil, it's very prone to oxidation, and they have to do all these chemical processes just to prevent all of the oxidation damage that will occur to it. And even then, it is still very prone to oxidation, meaning it's very likely to react with basically a free radical, and that's a no bueno. You don't want to be doing that. So yeah, this is definitely gonna go into S tier. This is butter. I will put butter in either A or S tier. I'm probably going to put it in S tier, but low S tier though. Butter is very, very good. Butter is really, really good. The only thing that I don't really like about butter is the fact that it has like a little bit of casein in it, but that's not really that big of a deal, honestly, because the casein amount in butter is so small, it's like negligible. Dairy content, like very incredibly small. So I would definitely put this into S tier. If you want to cook with anything, butter is a great option, a very, very good option. So next we have canola oil. Canola oil is going to go into D tier instantly. Not even close. We don't have to think about that. The reason why is it's very high polyunsaturated fat, extremely, like exorbitantly high polyunsaturated fat content in comparison to its saturated fat content. Avocado is better because its polyunsaturated to saturated fat ratio is much more, relatively speaking, much more saturated fat in comparison to polyunsaturated fat than canola oil. So we're definitely going to be putting canola oil D tier. Actually, this is F tier. You never cook with this. So we're just gonna label it that. Okay, so yeah, definitely this goes into like F tier. Never cook with this ever. This is chicken fat. I would put this under decent to cook with or very good to cook with. I'm probably gonna lean a bit more towards decent. We'll put this under decent to cook with. So Chicken fat is good. It's obviously high in saturated fat content, especially in comparison to any sort of vegetable oil. But the only problem is chicken is not ruminant, and the polyunsaturated fat content is definitely on a higher-ish end. I personally would not cook with this. It's not like I wouldn't eat food cooked with this, under this, if it was like ever served to me just once or a couple times. But this is not something I would do regularly, so I wouldn't really recommend this one. Coconut oil. Okay, so this one's a little complicated. This one goes into very good or always cook with, but I have personal experience with coconut oil, and I've cooked with it for a while, and I'm 90% sure that this was the contributor to my chest acne. So we're going to just rank this in terms of oxidation, but remember when I tell you this stuff I don't think you should be having. It's plant, it has phytotoxins, not healthy, wouldn't recommend it. But in terms of its oxidation damage, when we're ranking all of this strictly on oxidation damage, I am definitely going to put this into S tier. This is extremely difficult to oxidize, and you will know this because if you cook with coconut oil, you will see like the stuff does not. It's so difficult to cook anything in coconut oil because it doesn't oxidize. It's extremely difficult. So we're gonna be putting this in always viable to cook with, even though I wouldn't really say it is, but it definitely was the contributor to my chest acne, from what I'm aware of. We're going to skip that one, and we're just going to go to duck for now. Duck, I would put in decent to cook with. Again, I would not recommend cooking with it. It's okay, but it's not ideal. I might even put this under very good to cook with. Both of these are in between. Both duck and chicken are both in between very good and decent. So we're gonna go through the rest of the tier list and organize it at the end if we need to. But I'm pretty sure that I would put this under decent to cook with. I wouldn't regularly cook with this. I wouldn't want to, but it's not like I wouldn't eat with this. This though, if any food was ever cooked for me under avoid cooking with this or never cook with this, it means I will never eat these, like ever. If it was ever cooked with this, I will never eat them in my life because I've experienced serious GI problems from that. Next, we have corn oil. Now, you probably can guess where this is going. This is going instantly never cook with this. Never, ever, especially. Like, there are some oils that are very obvious. As a general rule, if it's a seed oil, you don't cook with this stuff because this stuff is so prone to oxidation. Like, insanely prone to oxidation. And by the way, even if you eat this stuff and you don't cook it, I still wouldn't recommend this. And this is because the polyunsaturated fat content is ridiculously high. And you might say, well, there's no like free radicals in my body, right? Because there's no oxygen, like there's less oxygen or something. No, your body produces free radicals. Your body produces things that can turn into free radicals anyways, like hydrogen peroxide, which you don't want, or nitric oxide radical, but that's besides the point. So yeah, this is flaxseed oil. This goes into never cook with this. Also, do not cook with this stuff. So this is like literally seed oils. And if you were to ever try to harvest this yourself, like in nature, this will not happen. Like the amount of seeds that you would need, if you were to do this manually yourself and try to figure this out, it would be impossible. Like genuinely impossible. It is so difficult to extract oil and get this much oil from seeds, unless you're like, it's like a mass agriculture sort of thing. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend this. Afterwards, we have ghee. This goes into always viable to cook with. You can always cook with ghee. It's basically just clarified butter. So actually, we'll put this a little bit above because I personally think that ghee definitely goes over butter, only because of the fact that there is no casein in it and that dairy basically. But otherwise, it's like negligible. You can really move these in between. That's how negligible the casein and the lactose is in butter. Like it's completely, it really does not matter that much. So salted butter honestly can taste pretty good sometimes. Goose fat, decent to cook with. Once again, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's ideal, but it is something that you can use. So if you want to, you can use this like a couple times, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Higher in polyunsaturated fat content, not ideal. Pork, so basically this is lard. I would put lard under very good or higher decent, but I'm gonna put it under very good. I think lard is pretty good overall. So if you would use anything, I would definitely say lard. If you don't want to use these for some reason, like if you don't want to use butter, I don't know why, but if you don't want to use butter or any of these, then I would probably, like, next best thing would be lard. This is olive oil. I would put olive oil, oddly enough, I would put this under very low, decent to cook with, or avoid cooking with this. Well, assuming that it's me eating this stuff, I would put this under avoid cooking with this. I wouldn't eat things cooked in olive oil. I really don't think that this is healthy. Higher polyunsaturated fat content, but it is nowhere near as damaging as flaxseed or canola. Basically, this stuff is really bad. So next we have palm oil. This immediately, never cook with this. Never ever cook with this stuff. It doesn't really matter the order which you put these in. They're all like extremely bad. Actually, it sort of does. Well, I guess we'll go to the one that you always never want to do. This is the worst by far. Sunflower oil. I'm pretty sure it was sunflower or safflower oil. Those are both like horrific. And this is really bad. All of this is extremely high polyunsaturated fat content, extremely prone to oxidation. It's not even just monounsaturated. Like, monounsaturated means there's only one double bond in there, meaning that there's only one place that free radical can basically attack. Polyunsaturated means there's multiple double bonds. So like this stuff is really bad. So in this case, linoleic acid is like really high in these, and you might say, oh my God, linoleic acid is really good, right? No, the reason it's not good, in fact, it's extremely bad, is because it's not in its conjugated form. Its conjugated form is found in all of these up here. So if you actually want them in its non-conjugated form, and you want extreme inflammation for some reason or another, then yeah, just stick with these and don't worry. There will be extreme inflammation going about. I really wouldn't recommend that, but that's what you can do. Actually, we'll just go with this one because this is the one I just talked about recently. This is safflower oil. This one was sunflower oil. We'll just put this, never cook with this. Also, another thing you never want to cook with, ever. This is, if you, by the way, every oil that I'm going like under right now, all of these, palm oil, canola oil, flaxseed oil, sunflower, safflower, I sort of forgot this one already. You usually won't find avocado. All of these ones in the never to cook with stuff, you will find these in processed foods all the time if you've noticed. Like if you just look at the back of a package, just go to a store, go to the back of a package, and you'll notice you will see all of these oils in there. Like, I really wouldn't recommend these. It's extremely unhealthy. This is walnut oil. This is also never cook with this stuff. Never. Do not cook with walnut oil. Just don't. It's like no different than these. There is no reason to expose yourself to this extreme amount of polyunsaturated fat content. Very prone to oxidation. All you're doing when you cook this stuff is you're just making the damage 10 times worse. So you would probably, for that matter, you probably would be better off if you ate this raw, but even then, that's like pretty disgusting. Why would you do that, right? If you eat this raw, it can taste good, especially butter. Well, butter's addictive, obviously, but if you eat butter raw, it can taste like really good, like extremely good. So yeah, once again. Soybean oil. Once again, never cook with this. There's a lot. Almost every single plant oil you can see on this list is under the never cook with this. There are 2 exceptions. There's only 2 exceptions, and even avocado oil, I might even throw this under here. I'd put this on the lower end. It's not terrible, but olive oil, even olive oil. Like, once again, I really don't recommend cooking with this stuff. Soybeans, not ideal to cook with. Specifically, soybeans are extremely high. Soy is just extremely high in phytoestrogens, which will hinder hormone production extremely. If you don't already know, a lot of Asia probably experiences that very often. And you can see it quite literally in the men's face because they literally can't grow beards, and there's some other things, some problems that usually happens. But as a general rule, this extreme exposure to phytoestrogens will really mess with hormone production. Like it really mess with hormone production. And I think if you eat correctly, this same instance will not occur. I'm actually very curious. I'd like to see an experiment like that go out there. That'd be pretty interesting. And finally, we have tallow S tier. Always cook with these. So there are basically 5 main ones. Actually, I really wouldn't. Honestly, I'm gonna put coconut here just because even though it's extremely like this in this case would be like very high actually because it's not prone to oxidation. But I personally definitely have experienced problems with coconut. Like it's given me chest acne. So I'll be giving this one. I'll be putting this under very good to cook with. As a general rule, there are 4 main ones, as you can see. Out of the list that I've given, there's way more that I could do, but these are just the ones that I'm going to be going over. So bison, ghee, butter, and tallow all are definitely S tier. You always want to cook with this. This is the best thing to cook with. And the reason, once again, is because these are extremely high saturated fat content. They are not going to be oxidized. It's very difficult to cause oxidation damage to them. And because of that, they are basically the main ones that you want to be using. Afterwards, we'd go with pork and coconut. Honestly, I really don't like coconut, but I have to give it credit where it's due. It's extremely resistant to oxidation damage. So we will be putting it high, but I still wouldn't recommend it. Pork lard specifically, I think this is pretty good to cook with as well. I'm pretty sure McDonald's used to cook their fries in lard, if I remember correctly, instead of like seed oils. So that was pretty interesting. Next, we have decent to cook with. So this is goose, chicken, and duck. I think that all of these are decent. I wouldn't cook with them over and over again, but they are pretty decent to cook with. And if I was eating a meal cooked in these, I would eat it. I wouldn't mind it. Afterwards is avoid cooking with these, specifically olive oil and avocado oil. I really wouldn't eat them if they were cooked in this, but it's definitely not as bad as the list below. Like olive oil, if you cook in it, not terrible, decently high polyunsaturated fat content. But out of all of the plant oils, it is one of the better ones. So coconut, olive oil, and avocado oil are the best possible plant oils, but I still, once again, I really wouldn't recommend cooking in them. And the worst of the worst, sunflower, safflower, canola, flaxseed. I think it was flax. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was flax. All of these, soybean, walnut. Yeah, I really wouldn't recommend cooking in any of them. I forgot these two, what they were already. But regardless, once again, hopefully you can see what you do and don't want to be cooking with. And the reason is because, once again, very prone to oxidation damage. And if you don't know the reason why this is so unbelievably damaging, once again, I really do recommend you go check out the Real Nutrition Science playlist, specifically the video called School Your Doctor on Nutrition Science. It's found under the Real Nutrition Science playlist, or otherwise, quote unquote, the science behind carnivore. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful or informative, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below, because it really does help the channel grow. And if you're interested in seeing all of my videos ahead of time, please click the join button down below, where you can go see all of my videos ahead of time, as well as support me personally. So once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.